Hello and welcome to this week's Collision Control Center. I am Myndrunner, and what an intense night of Collision the night before 316. Happy 316, everybody, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Let's get right to the action. Of course, the night began with a nice little intro from the best heel in the game, Ricochet, wearing some kind of tamale sriracha fart shirt of some kind and his Eagles hat. Definitely building up the heat. And he happened to be the first match of the evening in the tournament to determine who will face Kenny Omega at Dynasty. I've heard it both ways. And what an incredible match he had against Speak and Spell himself, the Speak and Spell assassin, Shibata. And it was a back and forth. There was a lot of high spots, a lot of chops. And once again, Ricochet proving that he can take on anyone and match any style and put on a complete banger. It was a surprise towards the end. Of course, Ricochet using the ropes without the referee seeing to secure the 1-2-3. Shibata was not happy. I do not think we're going to see the end of this feud. I'm sure Shibata is going to have something to say. Perhaps the Ops will have to get involved with Ricochet at some point. But Ricochet was able to pull off the win and secure his place in the four-way at Dynamite to determine who will face Kenny Omega at Dynasty or Dynasty, depending on which side of the pond you are on. And then the other match in the bracket was Mark Briscoe versus Mark Davis, the Battle of the Marks. And it was very intense. Surprisingly, this match was a lot better than I think a lot of people expected. We haven't seen a whole lot from Mark Davis, but Mark Davis got to truly show why he was part of one of the best tag teams out there, Aussie Open. But it was definitely Mark Briscoe that was bringing the intensity, bringing the pops. The crowd was completely on their feet for the Chicken Kung Fu Master. It was incredible. There were so many great moments, including an incredible moment where he knocked Mark Davis off on the top rope and did an incredible Death Valley driver. Unfortunately, you got to remember Mark Davis is part of the Don Callis family and the Murder Machines, who this isn't the first time tonight that they made their presence known, but they got involved. They were able to secure a distraction and got the better of Mark Briscoe, and Mark Davis was able to get the 1-2-3. So, surprising a lot of people, Mark Davis is now advancing to the four-way. So, on Dynamite, it's going to be Orange Cassidy, Mark Davis, Ricochet, and Speedball Mike Bailey. Quite a show. This is going to be quite a spectacle. My heart wants Speedball to win, but my gut and my brain are saying it's going to be Ricochet versus Kenny Omega at Dynasty, but I would be fine with any of them. Even Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega, it's still going to be a great show. Then, of course, we had Powerhouse Hobbs versus Griff Garrison. Yes, Griff Garrison, somebody we haven't seen on Dynamite in a long time, back since he was a Varsity Blonde. But he is now in a new faction on Ring of Honor. I think they're called the Fraternity House or the Frat House. And that is with Preston Vance, former Preston from Dark Order and from LFI, and Jack Jameson, formerly from the Iron Savages. So they are chugging the Savage sauce and living the frat life. I'd love to say that this was a great back and forth 50-50 match, but it's Powerhouse Hobbs. Griff Garrison got his ass kicked, and it wasn't long before he was the 1-2-3 looking up at the lights. Then the rest of the frat house thought that they were going to get on. They're like, hey, bro, that's not cool, bro. Well, although Powerhouse Hobbs could have mopped the floor with all three of them, this was a great moment for the youngest men alive to come running to the rescue. The Outrunners got in there, and we got to see a glimpse of one of the most powerful trios in the universe. The Power Runners got to flex, and it was such an awesome moment. Everybody popped. It was great to see. But this would not be the last we see of Powerhouse Hobbs as we continue through the night. Then it was ready for the Murder Machines had their match. It was a 2-on-4, and even that wasn't fair to the 4 because the Murder Machines, it cuts back to the camera, and they're already destroying these guys backstage. Mark Davis, of course, is paying back the favor, beating them up. And they did have one of the, I really like how the Murder Machines are being portrayed as just these monsters. And I feel like they're really starting to get their chemistry. Lance and Brian are really starting to click. They had a great moment at the end when they looked in the camera. And Brian Cage goes, "What, like, who dies?" And Lance Archer says, "Everybody dies." And then Brian Cage goes, "Who better?" And Lance Archer says, "Nobody." I mean, they're infusing their catchphrases. I think this is brilliant. And then, of course, it's time for their match. They literally carry their 4 opponents to the ring, beat the crap out of them. Doesn't take long. And they get the 1, 2, 3 without even breaking a sweat. I love portraying these guys as monsters and killers. But not to be outdone, upset about his loss to Mark Davis, Mark Briscoe comes to the ring with a chair. He's about to take it back onto the Murder Machines. They start getting the better of him, and then who should show up but Powerhouse. Powerhouse comes back, and we see Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Lance Archer while Brian Cage and Mark Briscoe battle all the way through the crowd. This was an incredible melee. I'm super excited. I hope we get this tag at some point. This will be tremendous to watch. And speaking of which, the arena was fantastic. This was at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Very up close. I'm really liking these smaller arenas for the AEW shows because the acoustics are better. The crowd was hot. The crowd was super excited for these guys. And all the brawling that took place around the arena, it was fantastic. Definitely a highlight of the night. And then, whose house? Swerve's house. But we had some breaking and entering with Swerve's house. Swerve came out and delivered an incredible promo. Prince Nana was, I guess, on location somewhere taking care of his robe. So that left Swerve by himself in the ring. He acknowledged that Ricochet had damaged his eardrum, punctured ear. And he's talking, he's making a great promo talking about it doesn't matter who it is that ends up being the champion. He's going to take him out, what have you, a Dynasty. And just before he finishes his incredible promo, who jumps him from behind but a crazed, insane Jon Moxley, looking like a cat burglar, dressed like he's getting ready, like some thug at the night. He breaks into Swerve's house, not literally. He takes him out on the leg, hits him in the head, and re-ruptures his eardrum. And then Moxley runs like a scalded dog out to the outside and then finishes his promo talking about how all of these crazy people have made him crazy. Like it's their fault that he's running around like a crazy person. So they're doing everything they can to build this up. Is this the end of the Death Riders? What do you feel about the Death Riders? Should we just end it? Or is this just the beginning of a Death Riders resurgence? Well, to shed some more thoughts on this, let's go to our friend with a hot take, SPD.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy SPD for his hot take of the week. Now, I touched on this a little bit on our episode Dynamite Download of 175, But I'm going to talk about the Death Riders because I've been thinking a lot about this. And I don't think it's time for the Death Rider demise. I think it's going to be the Death Rider revival and rejuvenation that we're going to be getting, because I feel like we've invested so much into this storyline already. There's way too far in too deep to pull the plug right now. And the unhinged Moxley that we just saw in Collision on his own is really, scratching my head, and I'm wondering, I'm really liking this. In typical SPD fashion, he is usually team babyface. However, I'm loving this, heel that has so many targets on his back, as we've seen with Cope, White, Swerve, and everyone in between that wants this title to be the top dog. And it's been a fun chase for that. And once that chase is over, then what? I'm enjoying the chase really much so right now. And so I think this is going to be the Death Rider revival, not the Death Rider demise. And so I'm all for this. I think it's going to be a great Swerve that we're going to be getting. I don't think he's going to be losing the title this Wednesday versus Cope. I think this is definitely going to be a turning point, though. So cross my fingers that we're going to get a Death Rider revival on Wednesday with more members, a complete beatdown. Maybe you'll see a lot of shenanigans with Jay White trying to get involved, other ones get involved, and then that just leads to maybe some tournament for it. I mean, I know we talked about the Owen Cup tournament a little bit. Excuse me. They haven't announced when that's going to be. I know Ospreay's kind of got his eyes on that, but All In is still months and months away, so we got a lot of story left to be told. I think you really got to give us the hatred towards the Death Riders and Mox to lead up to the ultimate payoff. The build with Swerve, which is only a few weeks away at Dynasty, I don't think that's long enough for us to have ultimate payoff of the journey. So I'm predicting a Death Rider revival with more members back healthy, and essentially assembling the Avengers in an army of Death Riders to take on any and all challengers for the world title. And it's going to stay hostage for Moxley for a while, because this guy is doing some awesome stuff. So Death Rider revival, SPD hot take. See y'all this Thursday on Dynamite Download.
Well, there you have it from SPD. Are we getting a Death Riders revival? Will there be some more additions to the Death Riders? Are we going to see an Avengers versus Thanos confrontation like Endgame? What about the return of Darby Allin? Could that throw a wrench in everything? We'll have to see. But of course, it's Swerve versus the winner of Moxley and Cope on Dynamite. Will be facing off at Dynasty. In tag team action, the tag team division is really starting to come back alive. And we had trios action last night. We had Hologram and Top Flight, who hadn't been on TV in a minute, were taking on Shane Taylor Promotions, and which was Lee Moriarty and the Infantry. Now, watching at ringside, not quite ringside, but on the ramp, we had the Crew, which is Leo Rush, Action Andretti, or with their Pokemon spiky jackets on. I do like this presentation, though. They really are starting to distinguish themselves from Top Flight. I thought this was a great moment for them to kind of, they've stepped up their gear a little bit. I think that this is a good way to present them as heels. I think they need a few more promos, but this was good to have them watching this match at ringside. So hopefully we'll see some more stuff there, and hopefully we can continue to develop this tag team division. Speaking of which, of course, Top Flight, Hologram, Lee Moriarty, the Infantry, you know what kind of match this is going to be. This is going to be nonstop action. That's exactly what it was. And of course, you have to really be something to make Dante Martin look not as athletic. And that's what Hologram was doing. And that says a lot, because Dante was fantastic. Darius was fantastic. Hologram was insane to all those Hall of fans out there. I know Full Tilt Dead was loving it. It was a great match. Not to mention the infantry and Lee Moriarty looked fantastic as well. I think we all had a pretty good idea who was winning this. There was a nice eyeball confrontation of Top Flight and the Crew. I think we're going to finally get this confrontation match at some point. And of course, Hologram was doing fantastic. There's going to be great things coming up. Does sound like Hologram and Commander are going to be teaming up with against LFI, Beast Mortos, and Dralistico. Now, those of you that caught Dynamite, you got to meet Harley Graham came to ringside with Hologram. And last night, Harley Graham was watching Hologram's match from backstage. And who should show up with a little bit of curiosity but Beast Mortos. Beast Mortos has some tingly feelings in the old Beast nether realm there. And I think Harley Graham is definitely pushing his buttons. I'm all for this Beauty and the Beast matchup. This reminds me of George the Animal Steel with Miss Elizabeth. I think this is going to be a fantastic storyline. I hope they keep it going. And talk about two of the most over characters in AEW, Harley Graham and Beast Mortos. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then we had an incredible promo from the champ herself, Toni Storm, with Luther in the back. By the way, you got to watch this. Just look at Luther in the back, and his expressions and interactions are fantastic. Toni Storm does a fantastic way of addressing all the women in the world in AEW and outside the company. But she does have some choice words from Megan Bayne. And she does have some choice words for her, which is some foreshadowing. But I do think we're going to see the champ eventually take on the Megasis, because my favorite match of the night, and yeah, maybe I'm a little biased, my favorite match of the night was Thunder Rosa versus Megan Bayne. Now, going into this, I was a bit nervous. I was a little worried that was this going to be a slaughter? Are they going to make Thunder Rosa look like a total jobber? Is this going to be a very one-sided match? And I'm happy to say not at all. We got to see Thunder Rosa put on an incredible fight. She got a lot of offense on the Megasis and really got to demonstrate her power to show why she is La Mera Mera. Now, a little preface here is La Mera Mera had an incredible promo earlier that night, which was interrupted by Megan Bayne, who attacked her ribs, and then the medical team seemed to feel like Thunder Rosa's ribs were cracked. Thunder Rosa said, no, La Mera Mera still wrestles. So she went out there with cracked ribs and still took on Megan Bayne. It was an incredible display. Megan Bayne was able to exploit those cracked ribs. She got the better of her. She got the Megasis plop, whatever it's called, fall from the sky, fall from grace, I think somebody said, and ultimately was able to get the win. But that wasn't enough for Megan Bayne. She wanted to make a statement. So she attacked Thunder Rosa after the bell, which it wasn't Statlander, it wasn't Willow, but coming to the rescue was none other than our champ herself, Toni Storm. We heard her music come. She came to the ring and she collided with Megan Bayne. And to everyone's surprise, Megan Bayne was even able to take out our champ. But then Chris Statlander came to the rescue, and the refs came, and they separated everybody. And Luther carried Toni Storm back to the backstage, while Chris Statlander carried Thunder Rosa backstage. And it was a great duality moment. But could this be an opponent for Toni Storm that's going to be way too tough for her to retain her title? Could Megan Bayne be our next world champion? Is it too soon for all of this Megan Bayne stuff, or is she just going to dominate the women's division and no one is safe. We'll have to wait and see. And then we had our main event. If you like graps and slaps, then this match was for you. It was FTR going up against the Undisputed Kingdom, or essentially what I like to say, not the conglomeration. Now, I'm a little biased. I'm having a hard time, of course, with Adam Cole and friends, particularly because I miss Kyle O'Reilly being with the conglomeration. I wish he was there. And don't get me wrong, I got a tremendous amount of respect for Roderick Strong and for Kyle O'Reilly and for Adam Cole, but this just hasn't been clicking for me. Of course, there's this gentleman's thing with Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia on commentary, and it just wasn't popping for me, but the match itself was fantastic. Of course, FTR, they're going to put a banger on every time. Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly looked great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. They are a great team together. They had great back and forth. Ultimately, FTR was able to get the win. And then we had the post-show moment where Adam Cole, Daniel Garcia shook hands, but FTR refused to shake hands with the Undisputed Kingdom. So I don't know if they're trying to make FTR heel. I don't think it's working. But essentially, we're going to continue to see this feud go. And, of course, we're going to have on Collision Saturday, Sunday, I think it's the Slam Dunk Saturday, Slam Dunk Sunday, something like that. It's going to be Daniel Garcia versus Adam Cole for the title. And there's a chance there may be a title change at that moment. But regardless, if you've been paying attention to the draft, more drafts numbers are popping up, and somehow the general of the Thunder Army is at the bottom because Bobby and Full Tilt Deb, as you can see, are duking it out 14 apiece. I am somehow at 20. There's a four-way tie for third place. Brian, Courtney, Crayfish, and myself are duking it out for third place. And then we've got SBD 2 points behind Steven. Steven's still in the lead with 30 points. Is Steven going to run away with this, or is SBD going to be able to catch him? What about everybody else? It's going to be incredible to see. And then, of course, our top performers for the night. SBD clearly had to go with Mark Briscoe. Even though both of our top performers, even though they didn't get the W tonight, they were the backbone of their matches, the backbone of the night. Mark Briscoe was tremendous, interacting with fans, put on a great show. He was brutal. He actually made Mark Davis look fantastic. He was able to come back with the chair, had a great brawl with Brian Cage through the stands. And then I've got to pick Thunder Rosa. And yeah, you're going to say I'm biased, whatever, Thunder Army. But truly, Thunder Rosa made this match a pay-per-view style match. Going out there, the whole injured ribs gimmick, she was able to make Megan Bayne still look powerful, but not diminish Thunder Rosa for who she is. La Mera Mera, former AEW champion. So, and that's one of the things I've complimented AEW on before. When a wrestler loses, a lot of times, even in the enhancement tablet, but definitely in these matches where you have two superstars, the superstar that gets the L doesn't look bad. They get a good look. They look powerful. A lot of times it's one of those things where if you run the match back again, it could end a different way. And I don't think we've seen the last of Thunder Rosa and Megan Bayne. I think Thunder Rosa is going to want a piece of the Megasis without her broken ribs. And I think we're looking forward to it. So thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Collision Control Center. SBD is going to be pulling double duty because we're going to have a double Collision Control Center where we have the Saturday and Sunday collisions coming up. Otherwise, we'll see you on Thursday for a regular Dynamite download, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific. I think it's specifically at 7. Anyways, we'll see you 10 p.m. Eastern on Dynamite Download. I am Myndrunner, and we will have a great week. We will see you then.